Thank you, Father Sar. Blessed afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank Sister Adeline for breaking the monotony of the afternoon. Thank you, Sister. So now my task is to let you fall asleep again. So, first and foremost, the topic given to me is building resilient and sustainable nonprofit organizations. So, I would like to present the content of this short talk. So first, let me discuss about the background. Second, major challenges that nonprofit organizations face. Third, key strategies for building resiliency and sustainability. And finally, our conclusion. So for the background, we all know that all nonprofit organizations play a crucial role in addressing various social issues, advocating for change, and providing essential services to communities in need. All of us here are a testimony to the work that we are doing. However, these organizations often face numerous challenges such as limited funding, resource constraints, and unpredictable external environments. So, in order to thrive and fulfill these missions effectively, nonprofits must focus on building resilience and sustainability. Next slide. So for resilience, we all know that this refers to the ability to adapt, withstand, and recover from challenges and disruptions. The best resilient example that we can present is what we have underwent during the COVID-19 pandemic, that all of us became resilient because of the call of the time and the call of the moment. Second is about sustainability. It involves ensuring the long-term viability and impact of the organization. We cannot continue with what we are doing or the mission that is at hand without us being sustainable. However, I would like to pose this important question when it comes to why do we want to be resilient and why do we want to be sustainable? Because if we do not have the clear and sincere answer to this, then we will never find the reason why we need to be resilient and sustainable. I think the very reason for resiliency and sustainability is the continuity of our mission, the continuity of all our advocacies. That is the very reason why we want to be resilient and why do we want to be sustainable. Next slide, please. However, in that journey to sustainability and resiliency, we all face major challenges that all of us have experienced already or continue to experience. These are just some of the pointers that I've researched as to what nonprofit organizations face as major problems when it comes to resiliency and sustainability. First is unstable funding or income source and inaccurate budgeting issues. It is not enough that we are committed to serve. It is also not enough that we are there to do the mission. It is always a good point to remember that in order to do charity and practice it at its best, it should always be an organized charity. So this is one of the problem. We have unstable funding. How can we continue with our mission with less funds that we have, with income sources that are also insufficient? And again, the system of how do we manage the finances that we are raising. Second challenge is the non or limited government funding. This is very true for us in the Philippines. That's why non-government organizations or non-profit organizations are existing because of the limited capacity of the government to respond to the pressing social issues. If the capacity of the government is limited, so much more is the funding that they provide. Third is the pressure to show results and strategic solutions or societal impact. Meaning to say, if we do the mission, there should be the impact in the society. It is not enough that we feed the hungry, but we should always make sure that the advocacy is to reduce hunger or to reduce malnutrition. It's not the single act that we do, but the accumulated impact that every single act that we do matters. Fourth is attracting and retaining the right talent over other sectors. We all know that in nonprofit organizations, we have already limited funding. And limited funding means we cannot hire the best people who could help us. However, in the field of nonprofit organizations, it is important to have the right talent so that our mission and our advocacies can also be promoted and pursued. And finally, not running nonprofits like a business and ignoring the bottom line. This means that for us in the nonprofit organization, we always rely on what is given to us as funding or grants. However, in the course of time, I realized that even nonprofit organizations should have sustainable business models, that they should be run profitably so that the advocacies and the mission can flourish. Next slide, please. And now let me present to you some of the key strategies that I can share with you for building resiliency and sustainability based in the context of our ministry as chameleons and my experience in the philanthropic world and my role as the head of all the institutions under the healthcare industry. So let me begin. First is, if we want to be resilient and sustainable, we have to diversify funding sources. I think this is very clear when Dr. Glenda mentioned about this, that for us nonprofit organizations, we cannot flourish when it comes to our vision without having various source of funds. And this is important, that relying on a single source of funding can make an organization vulnerable to financial instability. And so we should diversify our funding sources, like seeking grants, donations, sponsorships, and revenue generating activities. So by spreading financial risk across multiple channels, nonprofits can mitigate the impact of funding cuts or economic downturns and ensure their sustainability over the long term. So let me share with you some of the best practices or what we do in our philanthropic development office and in our congregation. Next slide, please. So one of the practices that we do is we have the donor circle, Heart and Hands donor circle. Next slide po. If I remember it right, it is the first Asian Philanthropic Conference we attended in Bali, Indonesia, where Dr. Rob John mentioned about the donor circle. And as first timers in that conference, we saw that there is a good opportunity for our philanthropic office to really explore on this donor circle. So in a span of 6 to 12 months, we were able to top the first 100 donor circle members. And in that 100 persons, we were getting funding from 3,000 to 4,000 US dollars per month. So a total of 36 to 40,000 US dollars a year. However, this was affected because of the pandemic. Of course, we also have to consider the status of our donors. But during, I think last year, if I remember it right, we activated again this donor circle wherein there was already the recovery when it comes to finances, economic recovery as to our donors as well. Another best practice is we really maximize the use of, next slide, grant proposals and project proposals. This is in the level of local, national, and international grant proposal. So local means, as again mentioned by Dr. Glenda, we haven't really top and maximized the landscape of local philanthropy. But if we look at the different opportunities, we can partner with a lot of organizations through grant proposals. And I think during my sharing in last year's philanthropic conference, we raised more than, I think, $1.5 million because of grant proposals, this source of funding. Next slide. Another is the charity store. I think what I love in this funding source is that do not look on the amount or the funds that you will raise, but on the manner that you are raising the bar and the engagement of the donors so that they will appreciate more your advocacies and your mission. And so we did the charity store, or what we call Launlaan, where we pulled several used materials and we raised, I think, 60 to 70,000. And we replicate that in the hospital where I am assigned now at the farthest part of the Philippines, down south. And we call it Gasa Paglaum, Store of Hope. So we raised around 30 to 40,000 in just one day. But in that, the biggest advantage and accomplishment is not the raise funds. First is the awareness and the commitment of people who would repeat supporting you in doing this funding source. Next slide, please. Another one is corporate social responsibility partnerships. One of the healthcare institutions under the St. Camillus Healthcare Institution is our nursing home. So what we did in corporate social partnership, our nursing home is composed of both paying and non-paying elderly residents. And so we did grants and, we did matching as to the advocacies of the different corporations and companies. And we look into who are the companies who are supporting elderly care. And once we have identified them, then we propose like a collaboration where they can create a program for the elderly, but at the same time make sure that we let them know what the institution needs and not them coming there and giving you all this kind of stuff that you do not need at all. Another, donations also for disaster response and relief operations. So we also partnered with the different companies who also advocate disaster response. I think it is good to announce now that in Manila, it's really not just raining in Manila, but it's flooding now in most parts of Metro Manila. And I think it's a good call again to top our networks when it comes to helping those who are at a disadvantage and affected by this habagat and Typhoon Karina. So a while ago, while we were listening to the different talks, our group was already mobilizing as to the fundraising so that first we can help the communities under our care and other communities that we can also help. Next slide. We also have what we call seasonal fundraisers. So for us, since we are a nonprofit organization and a religious organization as well, so we make sure that important seasons in the liturgical calendar are also given importance. And so what we did, we also had seasonal fundraisers under Lent. We call it Fast and Pay It Forward. So we engage with the different partners and institutions and people under our care also to really save and fast and offer this fasting during Lent. And we were able also again to raise a good amount of money. But again, the awareness and their capacity and their commitment to share what they have, even as small as it is. Then during Christmas, so we did the online caroling during the pandemic. So we were targeting billion. We raised 700,000 for online caroling. Second strategy is develop strategic plans. Nonprofits should develop clear and realistic plans that outline their goals, objectives, and action steps. So here comes regular reviewing and updating of these plans. That organization can stay as focused, agile, and adaptable in response to changing circumstances. So next slide to share as our best practice for this. So for organization, we conduct strategic plans. So this, since I am into organizational development, we make sure that all our actions are based on the organizational strategy directions that we have. So it is very important to note that to set strategic goals and directions for our nonprofit organizations. We have to identify specific objectives. We have also to draft and implement our plans and conduct progress review. An example to this is the standardization of all Chameleon healthcare institutions. For the longest, celebrating the 50th Chameleon presence in the Philippines. But for most of these years, we were doing ministry in a sporadic way, in a scattered way. There was no standardization at all. So when we look into the centralization of the management of all healthcare institutions, we planned and we look into the direction that 3 years from now, we really have to standardize the management of our institutions. Otherwise, our institutions will close. Why? Because all institutions started as mission healthcare institutions. Mission institutions meaning there are subsidies coming from abroad. But now we don't have these resources anymore. And so we have to make sure that we are in a strategic approach when it comes to managing them. Second is the philanthropic office in one of our hospitals. The philanthropic office of the Chameleon started February 2018. For the first 3 months, it was really stagnant. And it came that after 3 months, that the movement started, meaning to say, with the help of SRG, we were able to learn the setup, the system also of how the PDO works. And during the visioning process, we envisioned that all institutions should have its own satellite philanthropic development office. And 6 years after, we activated the first philanthropic satellite office in St. Camillus Hospital of Mati Foundation, Inc. So we started last June, and we have already raised a total amount of more than 10 million in funds and in kind. And recently, we partner with 2 foundations under the healthcare advocacy. And in one day, we were able to have 31 beneficiaries, surgical beneficiaries in Davao Oriental, 256 opta cases. These are for screening and to follow surgery, and also ECG and other medical tests. And you know what? While we are serving the community, the hospital gained a net profit of almost 500,000 in just one day. So this is what I call the effect of doing it strategically and an organized charity for that matter. Next slide, please. Third, we have to foster strategic partnerships. Collaboration is a cornerstone of resilience for nonprofit organizations. So by forging strategic partnerships with other nonprofits, government organizations, businesses, and community organizations, we can leverage on their collective strengths and resources to address complex challenges and more effectively. So strategic partnerships provide opportunities for shared learning, innovation, resource sharing, further enhancing organizational resilience. Next slide. As part of our best practices, in our partnerships, we did it in a manner that we started first within our organization. So always start within your network. Why look for other people and groups when you haven't even tapped your networks as well? So what we did within the TCFF PDO network with our Chameleon communities, our parishes, institutions, college seminary, and alumni association. Then we went international. Chameleons all over the world. So we prioritize those Filipino chameleons with Filipino presence in Taiwan, Indonesia, Australia, Germany, and Italy. And in the course of 6 years, as what Dr. Glenda presented, we have already raised 169 million pesos. But up to date, if we include the fundraising done together with the hospital and the recent fundraising with our seminary renovation, we have already raised 184 million pesos for the past 6 years. Partners of existing networks. So it is also very critical that we don't do things alone. So meaning to say, we all have different groups who are there to serve humanity. And it is always a pleasure to work with them. I was talking a while ago with some of the Rotarians from Cebu. So we did a project. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Pasig South, District 3800. And we went borderless when it comes to health. So from Pasig, they were able to go to Mati, Davao Oriental, and we have the project Lunas na Ligtas, where they donated 15 hospital beds for our patients and supported our feeding programs. So again, our partners with CBCP, Italian Bishops Conference, with SRG and its networks, corporate partners, and local government units. Next slide, please. We also top new partnerships and collaborations. So when I was assigned as hospital director in Mati, we gave importance to making sure that we are not competitors with other healthcare facilities since the community is not yet saturated. So we implemented what we call a community physicians healthcare partnership program, wherein we partnered with different clinics, laboratories, and hospitals in the whole Davao region, academic institutions, and private companies as well. And this has worked wonders for us because from 2022, from a deficit of 11.9 million, after 11 months, we had a breakthrough. And after 2 years, from 11.9 million, the institution deficit, we have now a positive 13 million worth as to the hospital's equity. Fourth, next slide, please. We have to invest in capacity building. So building the skills, knowledge, and capacities of staff, board members, and volunteers is essential for organizational growth and resilience. What we are doing right now is very part of that. And I think I am very sentimental about this because for the past philanthropic conference, we were just two attending, me and Ms. Khalil. But now can I ask my fellow staff collaborators from the Chameleon Network to stand? From 2, we have now 6 delegates for this conference. So please stand to be recognized together with our financial provincial administrator, of course, so that we will be sustained and we have the funds for our expenses. Next, for best practices, again, training programs such as SRG Bootcamp, learning sessions, and other philanthropic development conference. Number 5, we have to embrace adaptability and innovation. This is really a must because of the high and fast changing phase of society and in the different industry where we belong or our nonprofit organizations are involved. So nonprofits should be willing to embrace innovation, experiment with new ideas, and adopt to emerging trends to stay relevant and impactful. Some of the best practices that we have is what we have in the corporate fundraising. So since I work in the corporate world, I tap also my corporate networks when it comes to raising funds for the Chameleons. So we have the e-commerce platform. Last quarter of 2023, we worked on a e-commerce platform. It is a platform where different product lines are offered online. And that corporation and company agreed that all its product line, in all its sales, 10% will go as funds for the Chameleon mission. So if they raise 10 million, then we have 1 million funding. If they raise more, then we have more funds for the different advocacies. Next, and last but not the least, we have to engage our stakeholders. Engaging stakeholders is essential for building resilience and ensuring the long-term sustainability of nonprofit organizations by involving beneficiaries, our donors, volunteers, and community members. In what aspect? In the decision-making process. let me repeat, in the decision-making process. Do not let our engagement with our stakeholders just remain in the sense that we need funds and we need them. No, it should always be topping their skills, their knowledge. In what way? If they have already imbibed the mission that we are promoting them. So in that manner, by involving them, they are more likely to support and champion our mission, contributing their time, resources, and expertise to success. So let me share with you my last two slides. Best practices under this strategy is that for our various activities that we are conducting, we have community outreach activities, medical, dental, surgical, feeding program, health awareness, disaster response, and relief operations. Most often than not, our approach is ask for their help for sponsorship. But for us, what we did, we invited them to join the mission itself, the medical mission, the dental mission, the surgical mission, the feeding program. And once they immerse themselves in what we do, then they find the value of the mission. And they are no longer supporting who is the priest or who is the person involved. No, they start supporting now the mission. And so that it is where that sustainability comes in. And also in matters of giving importance to them, make sure that we give importance to them, not just in times when we need them, but also in times where they are most at need. If I remember it right, during the time of the pandemic, our beneficiaries were also our donors, where we lobbied and implemented what we call the Chameleon Mental Health Program, because all were having mental health issues. So even our donors and sponsors and stakeholders, they were also our beneficiaries. Finally, in conclusion, building resilient nonprofit organization is essential for navigating the challenges of nonprofit sector and ensuring long-term sustainability by diversifying funding streams, developing strategic plans, fostering strategic partnerships, investing in capacity building, embracing adaptability and innovation, and engaging stakeholders. Nonprofits can build the resilience needed to thrive in a rapidly changing environment. As we continue to work towards creating positive change in our communities, let us then prioritize building resilience into the fabric of our nonprofit organizations, ensuring that they can weather any storm and continue to make a meaningful impact for years to come. I would always share this last slide as my favorite adage and quotation from Saint Mother Teresa. She would always say and appreciate the value of what we do. I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. But together, we can do great things. As in this conference, coming from different organizations, foundations, groups, we have the mission that we are carrying. Things that we do that others cannot. Spring Rain Global bringing us in the landscape of philanthropy without any knowledge, but their help guiding and assisting us in the way with their help. But if we pulled out all our capacity, then we can really do great things. And during the time when Dr. Glenda was asked, what is now the update on the 1 billion declaration? I think if we do things together, that 1 billion is not a castle in the sky, but it's a reality that we can achieve during our time. Thank you so much, and God bless us all.